In this lesson, we will investigate our final group of colonies. Now, we have come from the top to the bottom, okay? I saved this group for last because I have a feeling it's the one that people know about the most, considering that we're in Virginia, and Virginia is a southern colony. But we started up at the top with the New England colonies. New England was Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And in those colonies, we saw an economy that was dictated by environment and a society that was heavily influenced by religion. Then we moved down to the middle colonies, which were Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, and New Jersey. And because of their location in the middle, we see diverse economic activities. We see people coming for religious freedom. We see people coming to make money. We see a society that prides itself on tolerance and freedom, and a society, because it prides itself on tolerance and freedom, wants to foster those democratic principles that all Englishmen should have, that we are going to find important when we move to the revolution. Okay. We also see the emergence of a middle class in the middle colonies, again, because of their location in the middle and the influence from the other two sections. Now we come to our final section, the southern colonies. Okay. Now, as we've been doing, let us review the southern colonies. Who makes up the southern colonies? Well, we've got Maryland. Okay, and again, we're moving from top to bottom. We have Maryland, which, if you remember from the map from last week, was a haven for Catholics. Right below Maryland, we have Virginia. Below Virginia, we have North Carolina. Below North Carolina, we have South Carolina. And then the last of the southern colonies, the last of the British southern colonies, is Georgia. And remember, it was a debtor's colony. It was a prison colony. Now, once again, these notes are on your own, so be sure you're jotting them down as we go through and we discuss life in the southern colonies. Each one of these southern colonies, well, there are a variety of groups that come here, okay? The further you go inland, you're going to find the Scots-Irish, you're going to find the English, of course, and you're going to find the German-speaking peoples, okay? So the further inland you go, you will find other groups besides just the English. Why are they coming here? Okay. Some of them are looking for religious freedom. I'm not going to deny that. All right. Some of them are looking for religious freedom, but economic opportunity appeals to everyone. That is the basis for the southern colonies. Remember, Virginia, specifically Jamestown, is the first permanent English settlement in the New World. It was founded as a business colony. Okay. These other colonies, even Georgia, even though it is a debtor's colony, it is a debtor's colony for England. Okay, all these, and even though you have Catholics going to Maryland for religious freedom and stuff like that, they are also going because of economic opportunity. Okay, the southern colonies are business colonies. Economic opportunities are going to be important for the people that come here. Now, the economy, and here are the 13 colonies, or the southern colonies in the green there: Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. The economy of the South, because that's what we looked at with New England, that's what we looked at with the middle colonies as well. The economy of the South is a little bit complicated, okay? But there is one economic opportunity that you are going to find everywhere in the South, and that is farming. That's why I have a picture of just a regular farm up at the top there, and then a picture of a plantation down at the bottom. Okay. Now, this is why I say the economy is a little complicated with the South. Okay. There is a dividing line, this black line that you see right here. Okay, there is a dividing line that goes through the southern colonies. In Virginia, I think you would refer to it as the fall line, okay, because Richmond's on the fall line. But this is the dividing line. On one side, this side right here, which is on the coast, you have the coastal lowlands, okay? Now, it's on the coastal lowlands. That's where you're going to find your plantations. Okay, and plantations grow cash crops. Cash crops like tobacco, which we talk about when we talk about Jamestown. Tobacco saves Jamestown because it's the cash crop that finally brings in money. Cash crops like rice. Okay, down south in South Carolina and Georgia, you're going to find rice plantations. Also in South Carolina, you're going to find indigo. Okay, indigo is a plant that makes a blue dye. Okay, which was very, very expensive back in the day. Okay, so indigo, it makes a blue dye. So that is a cash crop as well. So all of these, tobacco, rice, indigo, all of these are examples of cash crops which are grown to make money, and they're going to be found on the plantations in the eastern coastal lowlands. Okay, so your plantation economy is going to be in the eastern coastal lowlands of the South, growing your cash crops. Now, on the other side, okay, we're going to go back here. On this side, right here, to be honest with you, this is the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, so we have the Appalachian Mountains and foothills. You are going to find farming in the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, you're going to find small farming. It's not going to be the cash crops, it's not going to be the plantations of the coastal lowlands, but you are going to find farming in the Appalachian Mountains and foothills. Okay. So the South, and this is something as we move forward, the South becomes known for agriculture, and you're going to find it in both the coastal lowlands and both the Appalachian Mountains. The plantations are going to be on the coast. Your smaller farms are going to be in the Appalachian Mountains and foothills. Now, we got to figure out some other economic opportunities to do, because farming, even though it's going to be making some money, it's not going to be like the same as cash crops. So in the Appalachian foothills and the Appalachian Mountains, you're also going to find hunting, okay, not just for meat, but for pelts, for fur as well. And of course, some trading. All right. Not on the scale that you're going to see up in the middle colonies, but to survive, the people in the Appalachian foothills have to be able to trade with others. So trading is going to be an economic opportunity in the Appalachian foothills and mountains. Okay. Now remember, those are further inland. You're moving away from the coast. You're moving away from your plantation agriculture to things like hunting, trading, and small farming. Okay. So that's the economy of the South. Like I said, it's complicated. You got to pay attention to that dividing line. Now, one thing that unites both regions, okay, is ownership of land, private ownership of land. You own your land. And we talked about this before with Jamestown being an economic colony. Money or land equals money and power. So regardless of whether you're talking about the plantations on the coast, or you're talking about the small farms in the mountains, or the hunting lodges in the mountains, whatever, okay, if you own your land, that is a big, big deal, okay, because land equals money and land equals power. Okay, so private ownership of land is going to be a big deal. In fact, it is so big, not only is it an important aspect of the economy, but it is also an important aspect of society in the South as well. Okay, in fact, that's where we're headed next. We're going to move away from the economy and we're going to talk about Southern society. Okay, now in the South, there are two important factors. One is your family, okay, the importance of family. On the coast, you had family, who your family was determined who you were going to marry, okay, because you wanted to marry into a good family, and you wanted to have people from good families marry into yours, okay. So family is going to be important. When you move into the Appalachian foothills and the Appalachian Mountains, family is important because that's who you are around, okay. You're going to be spread out in the foothills and the mountains of the Appalachians. Okay. So your family is important because that's who you're going to see most of the time. So when it comes to social standing, family is important and ownership of land is important. Okay. In fact, your ownership of land, not only is it tied to the economy, not only does land equal money and power, but also land equals your importance as a family. Once again, you go to the coastal lowlands, okay, where your family's plantation is and how big your family's plantation is determines things like who you're going to marry. Okay. So when it comes to society, the two big characteristics of the South, we see the importance of family and the importance of ownership of land. There's going to be a quiz question on that. Importance of family, importance of ownership of land. Those are the two big things that influence society in the South. Now, the South is also interesting because it has a very strong allegiance and a strong tie to Britain and the Church of England. Okay. Part of that comes from a group called the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers were English nobles who were loyal to the king. If you remember back in modern world history, you talked about the English Civil War. You had the Roundheads who were loyal to Cromwell, and you had the Cavaliers who were loyal to the king, and those were the two sides in the Civil War. After the Cromwell dictatorship, when Charles II comes back, the Cavaliers who have stayed loyal to him, he gives them a reward by granting them land in Virginia. So you have this very, very strong tie back to the mother country, back to Britain, back to the Church of England, because of these land grants that these English nobles got because they were loyal to the king. Okay, so that's why we see some stronger ties here in the South to the mother country than, say, in New England and the middle colonies. In fact, when we get to the Revolution, some of the bloodiest fighting in the Revolutionary War is going to be in the southern colonies. And it's not necessarily going to be colonists versus British. It's going to be colonists versus colonists, because the Tories, the loyalists, okay, who were people living here in the colonies that still wanted to stay a part of Great Britain. Okay. And it all ties back to these strong ties that they had to Britain and the Church of England because the land that they were granted, because they were loyal to the king. Okay. And of course, the land is going to be important because it's going to be tied to your social structure and it's going to be tied to your economic activities, especially those land grants on the coast, because that's where your plantations are. Okay. So it's all kind of interconnected here in the South. Now, that's about it for the notes for the South, okay? You have a diverse economy. Farming is going to be the big activity, regardless if it's the plantations on the coast or it's the small farms in the mountains. Your social life is going to be dictated by your family and by ownership of land. Okay, those are the two big things that are going to impact society. You also see those close ties to Britain and the Church of England, because that's how a lot of the nobles got here, is they were granted land because they were loyal to the king. Okay, so we're going to see strong ties to Britain and the Church of England. And of course, in the South, we have the dominance of economy. All right, people come here to make money in the South. These were economic colonies. Now, before we wrap up this, just some final thoughts. Okay, we've now been through all three sections: New England, middle, and southern colonies. Even though the South is known for private ownership of land and private ownership of property, as we move on from here, okay, when we get into the Revolution, the belief in private ownership of property, the belief in private ownership of land, the belief in free enterprise is going to grow. Okay, so it's going to start in the South, but we're going to see it spread to the other colonial groups. The reason that's a big deal is, what do you think is going to happen if a governmental power comes in and tries to threaten your ownership of property, your ownership of land, and your ability to make your own money with free enterprise? You're not going to like it. That's exactly what Britain is going to start to do. Britain is going to start to threaten to take away our property. Britain is going to start to threaten to force us to house soldiers in our property. Okay. Issues of taxation we are going to see as a threat to our free enterprise. So what we are seeing here, the groundwork is being laid for our eventual conflict with Britain in the Revolution. The other thing that we see happen is a system of mercantilism, is creating a system of interdependence between us and between the mother country. Okay? And not only interdependence between the mother country and all of her colonies, but also the colonies amongst themselves. So once again, if the mother country tries to threaten that mercantilism through, oh, I don't know, taxation, we're going to be upset about that. Okay? So the whole reason that we kind of go through this unit and we look at all these sections independently is to realize, like I said, the groundwork is being laid. Things are going well now. But if the mother country comes over and starts to threaten, at least in our eyes, private ownership of land, private ownership of property, and free enterprise, we're not going to like that. And in fact, we're going to be willing to fight and die for it if need be. Okay, so that's where we're going to be headed next as we move out of this unit. We've got a couple more things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Plymouth. We're going to talk about Jamestown. We're going to talk about the importance of the slave trade, okay, to the colonies as well. But as we move out of this unit, that's where we're headed, is we're going to start engaging in the revolution and what is going on to make us eventually want to break with Great Britain.